bacon cheeseburger.
So if you've been around my channel for a while, you'd know that I've done a lot of these Roblox roleplay videos. Now, if you've seen them and thought to yourself, man, roleplaying seems like fun, but I have no idea how to do it, then this video is for you. Today, for all you wishing to pick up roleplaying, I'm going to be going over how to RP as a beginner. I'll be going over the terms used in an RP, how actions work, and a lot more, so let's get started. Quick disclaimer, this isn't a definitive correct way to roleplay, and different games have different rules. I'll just be going over the basics because I'm not exactly an intense and dedicated roleplayer, and there's a chance I will miss stuff. But this video should get the general stuff, so let's just go. Alright, the first place to start before anything is the basic terms that everyone should know before getting into a roleplay. IC, or in character, is a term that is said by players when they are establishing themselves into a roleplay as a character they've created. It essentially means that they have become present in the roleplay and can be interacted with in the roleplay itself. It's basically just telling people, hey, I'm in the game, you can talk to me now. OOC, or out of character, is a term used when a player isn't in a roleplay and essentially does not exist in the universe the RP is taken place in. Players who are OOC are essentially just ghosts. Both OOC and IC can be shifted into whenever the roleplayer chooses. PTK, or permission to kill, is a term used frequently in combat-centered RPs. If one roleplayer has defeated another in combat, PTK is asked in order to know if it's okay for the victorious player to kill off the loser's character from the roleplay. Now, character death doesn't have to be forever, but unless magic or something else like that is involved, you shouldn't bring back your character until you are in a different roleplay scenario. Different roleplay servers have rules on PTK, and some games don't even bother having it at all. PTKO, or permission to knock out, is just a non-lethal version of PTK that renders a player character unconscious for a set time. Void is a term used when a player wishes to erase an action or scene. For example, if two players are role-playing a firefight and a player says they shot the other in the head, if the other states that he was actually behind cover so he was unable to actually get hit, the one shooting can void their action so that it actually never happened. Voiding should be used mostly for your own actions, and if you wanted to void another player's actions, ask first. You can even void other roleplayers if they are being annoying to you or just unwilling to cooperate in the roleplay. Remember that the things you void usually only apply to you, and a roleplayer you void can still interact with other people. You're not God. Power gaming is used when a player exerts an action on another player and forces it to be successful without save from the other player. For example, when a person punches another and says that it knocks them out without giving the other player a chance to respond, that would be power gaming. Power gaming is something I generally frown upon due to my role-playing style. Now that we got the basic terminology out of the way, it's time to understand the different types of roleplays. Private roleplays are roleplays that are usually taken part in by a few people and essentially exist in their own little world, not being affected by the actions of roleplayers who aren't a part of that roleplay. Private roleplays can be joined if a person asks permission from the people within that private RP and they allow them in. Some games don't allow private roleplays, and in that case, private servers can be made for the people wishing to do that. Public roleplays are roleplays that are open to everyone in the server and do not require permission to join, but a good rule of thumb for any roleplayer is to ask permission to join no matter what. It's just common courtesy. Combat RP, or combat roleplay, is an RP that is centered around fighting. These types of RPs are either turn-based or whoever can just type the fastest. PRPs, or passive roleplays, are RPs that don't consist of any fighting. NPC, or non-playable characters, are characters within a roleplay that don't exist physically, but are instead imaginary characters that are involved in the roleplay in some way. For example, a person roleplaying as an evil king can say that he summons a group of NPC guards to aid him, and the person roleplaying as the king roleplays the actions of the guards. The amount of NPCs allowed to a player is also different depending on the game. Now that you know the different types of roleplays and the vernacular, it's time to create your character. Now, when it comes to character creation, there aren't too many limitations, but a majority of the limitations depend on the world the roleplay takes place in. For example, if you're in a military roleplay, you wouldn't play a character that was a medieval knight. That's just ridiculous. There are usually rules within each individual game when it comes to character creation, and the strictness to those rules just depends on the specific roleplay game. Anyways, as for your actual character creation, be as creative as you want with the character design, personality, and abilities. It's all really dependent on what kind of character you want to be. For example, for a crossover role-playing game, I played a short mad scientist named Dr. Galahad whose entire personality revolved around being insane and wanting to take over the world. Like I said earlier, character creation is mostly all up to you, and the complexity of your character is also in your own hands. Lastly, a good rule of thumb is to not make them incredibly overpowered. A character who is essentially a god is no fun to roleplay with. Alright, now that you've made your character, let's actually get into roleplaying. When it comes to roleplaying, try to say and do things that are in line with your character. If your character is described as an extremely jolly person, then do your best to show how happy your character is. When it comes to actually typing things out, different symbols should be used to establish what your character is doing. Let me show you what I usually do. For talking in character, I just use quotation marks like these, and these are used to show if my character is talking or not. When I talk out of character, I just put 2 parentheses on each side of my message, and for actions, I just use asterisks. Now when it comes to something like actions, if you're being attacked, don't just keep saying dodges or blocks over and over, because that just essentially brings the roleplay to a halt. If you were attacked, try to be a good sport about it and react accordingly, or in the very least, make a creative way for you to avoid the attack. Combat and roleplays can depend on the type of game. Some fights are just who types the fastest, while others are turn-based. So if you want to partake in some combat roleplays, be ready to speed type. Now when it comes to actions, I try my best not to just say stabs you or punches you in the jaw. I instead try to say thrusts my knife forward or throws a punch at your jaw to give my opponent an opportunity to retaliate and counter my action. Actions don't only have to be used for combat. You can use actions to establish how your character feels. Like if you say, I get a tired look on my face, it establishes to your roleplay mates that your character is tired. Anyways, I'm always about keeping the roleplay moving forward, and if it seems like me and the people I'm roleplaying with don't really have anywhere to go, I try to make something to keep the story moving. If you're roleplaying with someone who you don't want to roleplay with, remember you can always just avoid them. Anyways, that's just about everything I can think of if you want to start roleplaying. Remember, you can always pick up information on how to roleplay better from the people around you, as what I covered is only the basics. If you have questions, ask me in the comments and I will see you all in the next video.